The alarm pierces the silence at 4:45 a.m. You chose this time yourself. No manager demanded it. No schedule forced you. For the last 2 years, you've had the freedom to sleep in if you wanted. But every morning you still get out of bed. The coffee begins brewing while the rest of the neighborhood sleeps. You climb into your truck and head toward a quiet strip mall outside Dayton. Dawn hasn't painted the sky yet. The parking lot is empty. The air's still cool for now. You grab your ladder, lean it against the building, and begin the climb. Before you even reach the rooftop, sweat starts soaking through your shirt. Another long day under the summer sun is about to begin. Inside your pocket rests a phone carrying a number that silently accomplished something your paycheck never could. At 41 years old, you're standing on a rooftop with something few people around you realize. You no longer need this job. You could walk away today, but you don't. The young apprentice holding the ladder has no idea. Your mother doesn't know. Not a single coworker suspects the truth. For 18 years, every overtime shift, every Friday paycheck, every vacation you skipped, every unnecessary purchase you resisted, all of it was leading to one goal: freedom. The ability to step off this roof whenever you decide. Yet tomorrow morning you'll climb the ladder all over again. So what was the point? If you already have enough, why keep coming back? The answer began with just $500. Only $500. A tiny amount that almost never got invested. 18 years earlier. You're 23 years old. It's July in Springfield. The temperature on the ground is already 96 degrees. But up on a black commercial roof, it feels closer to 120 under the blazing afternoon sun. You're waiting for an air conditioning compressor to cool enough that touching it won't peel the skin from your hands. A few feet away, your father sits quietly on an upside down bucket. He's 61. He spent 34 years climbing roofs like this. He's the reason you got this job. When he tries to close his hands completely, they don't cooperate anymore. Years of hard labor have taken that from him. Still, he never complains. He simply adapts. You've watched him do it since you were 19. Not once have you heard him ask for sympathy. He unwraps the sandwich your mother packed that morning, cut neatly in half, wrapped in wax paper, prepared exactly the same way she's done for decades. You're not trying to have a deep conversation. You're simply trying to break the silence. Dad, when are you finally going to retire? Without lifting his eyes, he answers calmly. You get used to it. Nothing more. No motivational speech. No life lesson. Just 6 quiet words that somehow carry the weight of an entire lifetime. Without realizing it, you squeeze your own hands into fists. They still close perfectly. 4 hours later, you're standing inside a Kroger grocery store. Long before reaching the checkout lane, you're already doing calculations in your head. You don't need to open your banking app. You've memorized the balance. $817.43. For nearly 3 years, you've watched that number hover around the same place. It rises slightly, then falls right back down. Your hourly wage is $14.50. After taxes, every 2 weeks brings home around $960. Rent, truck payment, credit card bills, insurance. By the time your paycheck arrives, every dollar already belongs to someone else. The cashier scans the final item. The register displays the total. You're $11 short. She doesn't say a word. She simply waits. Quietly, you remove 2 items from the bagging area. No one in line seems to notice. You pray they never do. Outside, you toss the groceries onto the passenger seat. 1 bag slides onto the floor. You leave it there. You shut the driver's door but don't start the engine. The steering wheel has been baking in the sun. It's almost too hot to touch. You just sit there, silent, thinking. 38 more years climbing ladders. 38 more summers under relentless heat. 38 more years before someone asks you the exact same question you asked your father. When are you going to quit? And maybe you'll answer exactly the way he did. You get used to it. Saturday arrives. No alarm rings. Still, your eyes open at the same time. Old habits don't disappear overnight. You reach for your phone and type a simple question into the search bar. How do people retire early? You promise yourself you'll spend just 10 minutes reading. One article leads to another, then another. Hours disappear without you noticing. When you finally look up, your coffee is cold. The morning is gone. It's almost lunchtime, and slowly, one realization begins to form. The answer isn't glamorous. It isn't complicated. In fact, it's surprisingly ordinary. The strategy is almost disappointingly simple. Buy ownership. Keep holding it. Then let time do the work. You open an investment account for the very first time. Your finger hovers over one amount. $500. That's more than half the money you have. Instantly, your mind begins making arguments. What if the truck breaks down? What if you get injured? What if you suddenly need that money next week? Every excuse sounds perfectly logical. And that's exactly why they're so convincing. You pause and glance around your apartment. Nothing important in your life has ever happened because you waited for the perfect moment. So you take a breath and press confirm. Your bank balance instantly falls from around $800 to $300. That's it. No celebration, no fireworks, no message saying you made the right decision. Just one smaller number replacing a larger one. Monday morning arrives, and you're right back on the rooftop. You didn't invest because you dreamed of becoming wealthy overnight. You invested because, for the first time, you could actually imagine a future where the ladder eventually ended. Otherwise, that future looked exactly like your father's. Still eating lunch on rooftops, still telling himself, you get used to it. Every payday, another $50 disappears before you even have the chance to spend it. You barely notice it anymore. Still, you check your account constantly, during lunch breaks, before going to sleep, sometimes while sitting in your truck before work. Most days, nothing seems different. Age 24, age 25, age 26. 3 years pass. Your investment account finally reaches about $4,100. Then reality hits. You realize almost $3,600 of that came directly from your own contributions. 3 years of skipping meals out. 3 years of ignoring the annoying rattle in your truck door. 3 years of saying, maybe next month, whenever you wanted to buy something. And after all that sacrifice, the investment itself has only earned around $500. Your thumb hovers over the cancel transfer button. You stare at it for a long moment, then lock your phone and slide it back into your pocket. Not because you're suddenly convinced it'll work, because canceling would mean admitting all those sacrifices were pointless. So you keep going, not out of confidence, out of stubbornness. Sometimes pride is enough to carry you when belief isn't. At 27, something unexpected appears inside your investment app. Dividend received, $9.11. You read it twice. $9. It's not even enough to pay for your usual coffee at the gas station, but that's not why it matters. It showed up while you were asleep. You didn't climb a roof. You didn't haul equipment. You didn't spend hours under the blazing sun until your shoulders ached. That money simply arrived. For the first time in your entire life, income reached your account without demanding a piece of your body in return. You don't mention it to anyone. How could you? Who's going to celebrate earning $9? At 28, while working another October afternoon on a rooftop, you quietly make yourself a promise. When your investments reach $10,000, you'll finally tell your father. Not to impress him, just to show him another path might actually exist. March arrives. The account finally crosses 5 figures. That evening, you drive to your parents' house. Your father is lying beneath his pickup truck. Only his boots are visible. You take a breath. This is the moment. Then his voice interrupts. Hand me the 3/8 wrench. Without thinking, you hand him the tool. The words never leave your mouth. Somehow, 10,000 still doesn't feel real enough. Then, at 31, the market crashes. In only 11 days, your account loses nearly $9,000. That's almost an entire year's rent. A year's worth of groceries. A year's worth of standing at the checkout line hoping your card won't be declined. You're working on a rooftop in Huber Heights with your phone in your hand. The sell button is staring back at you. One tap. That's all it takes. One tap and the bleeding stops. You don't press it. Not because you're fearless. Because, after 8 years, you can't bear the thought that every sacrifice was for nothing. Friday arrives. Your automatic investment goes through exactly as scheduled. It doesn't care what the headlines say. It doesn't ask whether you're nervous. It doesn't wait until conditions feel safe. It simply keeps buying. Year after year. Eventually, your father retires. Someone brings a sheet cake into the workshop. Coworkers shake his hand, share a few laughs. 20 minutes later, it's over. 34 years of hard work reduced to a brief goodbye and a drive home. You walk beside him through the parking lot. The number you've been carrying around in your head rises to your lips. $61,000. The words are right there, just waiting to be spoken. Years pass. The goalposts keep moving. Maybe I'll tell him when the account reaches $100,000. Your father carefully places the retirement cake on the passenger seat so it won't slide during the drive home. Your mother reminds you she's making pot roast on Sunday. You tell her you'll be there. Then you watch your father pull away from the parking lot. Even after everything you've accomplished, it still feels more like luck than success. So you stay quiet. 100,000. That's when you'll finally tell him. Except life keeps moving faster than your courage. By the time you're 38, the account has grown to $300,000. Sunday afternoon. Your parents' kitchen hasn't changed. There's a sandwich on the counter neatly wrapped in wax paper. Your father doesn't pack lunches for work anymore. He retired years ago. Yet your mother still makes them. Some habits become expressions of love. Your father reaches for his glass. His fingers still refuse to close completely. Years of labor left permanent reminders. Even so, he manages just fine. He's halfway through another story about someone from the old shop. Just like always, he starts laughing before he even reaches the punchline. You smile with him. Inside your investment account sits $300,000. Still, you say nothing. The number has become too large to explain. At 40, you're sitting alone at your kitchen table late at night. A spreadsheet fills the screen. Only 2 columns. One shows what your job has paid you. The other shows what your investments have earned. Every year, those 2 numbers move a little closer together. You stare at them, and once again, you think about telling your father. 17 years have passed since that first investment. He's 69 years old now, but you keep postponing the conversation. After all, you haven't run out of Sundays yet. At 41, it's just another Thursday. 3 service calls. Lunch eaten alone inside the truck. Nothing remarkable. Late that night, around 11, you sit back down at the kitchen table. You only meant to check how much you still owe for your truck insurance. The spreadsheet opens automatically, exactly where it always does. Those same 2 familiar columns. Income from your job this year, $61,000. Income from your investments, $71,400. You blink. Read it again. Maybe you entered something wrong. You click into the cell, check every formula. Then you grab a calculator and work through the numbers yourself. Line by line, the answer doesn't change. $71,400. The investments earned more than your job. You slowly lean back in your chair. The room stays silent. No applause, no dramatic music, no message announcing that you've crossed the finish line. 18 years earlier, you pressed confirm on a $500 investment and felt absolutely nothing. Now you've reached the destination, and somehow, it feels exactly the same. You stand up, walk to the refrigerator, open the door. Cold light spills across the kitchen. You're not looking for food. You're simply trying to figure out what to do with yourself. Finally, you whisper into the empty room, "Dad." Nothing else comes out. For 18 years. Every Friday contribution. Every overtime shift. Every purchase you talked yourself out of. Every sacrifice. All so one day, you'd never have to set that alarm clock again. And for the very first time in your life, you don't. Yet the next morning there's still another roof waiting in Kettering. Sunday arrives. Driving down Route 4. You rehearse the conversation over and over. Dad, I need to tell you something. Again. Dad, there's something I've been meaning to say. Again. 20 minutes of practicing. 20 minutes of rewriting the same sentence. By the time you pull into the driveway, you still don't know how to begin. The garage door is already open. Your father is standing at his old workbench. An air conditioning unit sits in front of him. It isn't his. It belongs to Marcy, the neighbor. Her air conditioner stopped working on Thursday. Your father is 69 years old. Nobody hired him. Nobody is paying him. He's fixing it simply because someone needed help. His hands still don't close completely. He works around it, just like he always has. Lunch is ready. Your mother's famous pot roast fills the table. She's talking about someone's daughter's upcoming wedding. You barely hear a word. You're waiting for the right moment. Then your father casually mentions he'll be at the shop on Tuesday. You pause. What's happening Tuesday? Your mother answers as if it's the most ordinary thing in the world. Oh, he goes to the shop every Tuesday, just to drink coffee with the guys. You slowly lower your fork. He's been retired for 8 years. 8 years. And every Tuesday morning, he still drives to the same building, parks in the same parking spot, walks through the same doors. No paycheck waits for him. Nobody expects him to come. He goes because, after spending a lifetime there, it still feels like home. Tuesday arrives. Like every other Tuesday, your father drives back to the old shop. No paycheck, no schedule, no obligation. He goes because it's Tuesday. You watch him from across the dinner table. 34 years. On scorching rooftops. Days where the temperature climbed past 120 degrees. Countless lunches eaten from a bucket. Hands that had already begun failing him before he turned 50. After all those years, retirement finally came. Yet, instead of leaving that world behind, he found his own reason to return. All the way home, you'd rehearsed one sentence. Dad, there's another way to live. But sitting here, listening to him laugh before finishing another story, something he's done your entire life, you suddenly realize the sentence was never right. Another way. Away from what? He was never trying to escape, so you never say it. Not because you're afraid, because you finally understand he doesn't need rescuing. As you're leaving, your mother catches you in the hallway. She presses a foil wrapped container of leftover pot roast into your hands and waits until you take it. You look exhausted, honey. You smile. Work's been busy. Technically, it's true, but it isn't the whole truth. Driving home, the container rests on the passenger seat, exactly where your father's retirement cake once sat. 18 years. Every Friday investment. Every purchase you skipped. Every sacrifice made for one dream. To get off the roof. Then you realize something. Your father never wanted off the roof. That night, you get home around 9. The leftovers go into the refrigerator. Then, almost automatically, you set your alarm for 4:45 a.m. Tuesday. 4:45. The alarm rings. You silence it. But this time, you don't move. The night before, you called dispatch. The first sick day you've taken in 18 years. The dispatcher asked, "You feeling okay?" You answered, "No." There was a long silence. Then you corrected yourself. "Actually, yes. Even now at 6:10, you're still lying awake. You've been awake since the alarm. Your body has no idea what to do with a Tuesday that doesn't begin with a ladder. Your investments are now worth nearly $900,000. And today, the entire day belongs to you. You climb into your truck. The annoying rattle inside the driver's door is still there. You've ignored it for years, On Wagner Road sits a small diner you've driven past almost every workday for nearly 2 decades. You've never once gone inside. Today you do. A booth by yourself. Eggs, toast, coffee. $9. You finish breakfast in 11 minutes. You check the clock. It's only 7:30 a.m. The morning has barely begun. You sit in the parking lot, staring through the windshield, trying to think of something, anything, you actually want to do. Back when you were 23, you had a mental list of dreams. It contained exactly one item: get off the roof. There was never a second goal. You never expected to make it that far. Then, a thought crosses your mind. It's Tuesday. Right now your father is probably sitting in the old shop, drinking coffee with the same men he worked beside for decades. Only 20 minutes away. You could drive there. You could finally explain everything. You could tell him why you're free, but you still don't know how to say it. So you stay on the highway. The exit passes by. Noon. You're back home. The refrigerator door swings open. Cold light fills the kitchen. You're not hungry. The leftover pot roast is still wrapped in foil. You eat it standing at the counter straight from the container. It's noon. On a Tuesday. You have nearly $900,000. Your mother cooked the meal. The afternoon stretches ahead of you. By 2 p.m. you've run out of ideas. You've already done everything you could think of. The next morning, you're back on a rooftop in Xenia before 6. The apprentice holding the ladder grins. Weren't you sick yesterday? You smile. Yeah. It took me 18 years to buy one Tuesday off. Then you quietly realize something else. You spent 18 years earning the freedom to own your time. And by 2 o'clock that afternoon, you'd already given it back. October arrives. At 7 in the morning your mother calls. The furnace won't start. The house is only 41 degrees. You know that furnace. You grew up with it. It already seemed ancient when you were in high school. 20 minutes later, you're in the basement. Your father is already there, 69 years old, kneeling on the cold concrete floor, a flashlight clenched between his teeth. He'd removed the access panel before you even arrived. You inspect the unit. The igniter's gone. A moment later, you notice something else. The blower motor, too. You inspect the furnace a little longer. Another problem reveals itself, then another. The igniter is worn out, the blower motor is failing, and the heat exchanger. That one should really be replaced too. You don't say those last words out loud. Instead, you quietly say, I can probably find the parts from Mike by Thursday. But another thought refuses to leave your mind. For around $9,000, you could replace the entire system, brand new. Installed this week, and paying for it wouldn't change your life in the slightest. You look at your father. Dad, let me buy you a new furnace. For the first time since you arrived, he stops working. He sits back, removes the flashlight from between his teeth, and looks at you. You've got your own bills, nothing more. Then he leans forward and goes back to repairing the old one. Because, in his mind, you're still 23 years old, still counting every dollar before reaching the grocery checkout, still trying to stretch each paycheck, still carrying a truck payment. He doesn't know anything has changed, because you've never given him a reason to believe it has. You watch him reach for another tiny metal clip. His fingers slip. He tries again. They slip a second time. He doesn't complain, doesn't get frustrated. He simply extends the clip toward you, without saying a word. It's the first time in your entire life he's silently admitted. He needs your hands. You take the clip, snap it perfectly into place. Your fingers close easily around it, and suddenly one thought fills your mind. I got these hands from him. 4 hours later, the furnace comes back to life. Warm air flows through the vents. Your father stands there with his arms crossed, listening to the familiar sound. Then he smiles. Not because the furnace is new, because he brought the old one back. Your mother cooks eggs. You leave shortly after lunch. The old furnace stays exactly where it is. So does your money. Driving home, another realization settles in. Maybe the greatest thing your father ever built wasn't a career, or A paycheck. Maybe it was simply becoming the kind of man who carried both home with dignity. The following Tuesday, you finally take the exit. His pickup truck is exactly where it always is. Third parking space from the door. 4 working years. 8 years of retirement. Still the same spot. You step inside the old shop for the first time in almost a decade. Nothing has changed. The same burnt smell from old coffee. The same coffee maker humming in the corner. 5 retired mechanics gathered around a table with nowhere else they need to be. Your father notices you immediately. His entire face lights up. Hey! Look who decided to show up. He says it to everyone else before saying it to you. As if introducing someone important. They already know who you are. Still, he introduces you anyway. You stay for nearly 40 minutes. The conversation drifts from an air conditioning job in Trotwood back in 1997 to aching knees. To memories only they fully understand. No one asks about your investments. No one asks how much money you've made. No one asks what you drive. And somehow, it's the happiest 40 minutes you've experienced in a very long time. While pouring another cup of coffee, one of the retired technicians walks over. Ray, older than 70, hands worn down just like your father's. He nods toward you. Your dad talks about you all the time. You stay quiet, waiting. Says, you're the best apprentice he ever trained. Ray fills his cup, mentions it about once every month. Then he walks away as casually as he arrived. You stand there frozen. Your father never once told you that. Not once. Yet he'd been telling everyone else for years. Outside, the parking lot is nearly empty. Your father unlocks his truck. You finally speak. Dad, 18 years searching for the perfect words. And they come out far less elegant than you'd imagined. I've got money. He stops, waits. About 900,000. Traffic hums in the distance. The parking lot remains quiet. From what? He asks. Investments. Stocks. I started when I was 23. He looks back toward the old shop. Then, back at you. His first question isn't about the amount. It isn't how you did it. Instead, he asks the only thing that matters. You doing okay? You nod. Yeah, I'm okay. He shifts his keys into the other hand, then asks another question. So, what are you going to do with it? You open your mouth. Nothing comes out. After 18 years chasing financial freedom, you realize you've never asked yourself what freedom was actually for. Honestly, I don't know. He simply nods, as though that's a perfectly acceptable answer. Maybe it is. You stand there, secretly hoping to hear 4 words you've imagined your whole life. I'm proud of you. Instead, he climbs into his truck, rolls down the window. See you Sunday. Your mother's making pot roast. Then, he drives away, leaving you standing in the parking lot with nothing more than an invitation to dinner. On the drive home, you finally understand. He never needed to say he was proud. He'd already been saying it to Ray, month after month, for years. 18 years. Every Friday contribution. Every dollar you chose not to spend. Every sacrifice. You thought it was all about escaping the roof, but your father had never measured life by whether he stood on a rooftop. He measured it by the man who stood there. Sunday comes. You ask him to tell the story about that old job in Trotwood. He laughs before reaching the ending. Just like always, you already know how it finishes. You laugh anyway. Monday, 4:45 a.m. The alarm sounds. You switch it off before anyone else wakes up. Inside the kitchen drawer sits a roll of wax paper. You don't even remember buying it. You make yourself a sandwich. Cut it neatly in half. Wrap each piece the same careful way your mother always did. Before leaving, you slip it into your lunch bag. The sun still hasn't risen over Kettering. You climb another ladder. By afternoon, the temperature has climbed into the mid-90s. You're sitting on an upside down bucket, waiting for a compressor to cool. 8 feet away, the young apprentice, 23 years old, breaks the silence. When are you finally going to quit? Without looking up, you smile. You get used to it. He glances down at his own hands. They still close perfectly. He thinks you've just warned him about the future. Maybe one day, he'll understand that it was never a warning. $900,000 didn't buy your happiness. It didn't buy your identity. It bought something much quieter. The ladder had always been there. Money simply gave you the choice. The difference wasn't climbing it. It was never having to. Your father understood that long before you ever did. It just took you 18 years to discover the lesson he had been living all along. You finish your sandwich, carefully fold the wax paper, slip it into your pocket, then stand up. Because there's another roof waiting.